Welcome to the Stable Minded Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Griffin, along with Gabby Greco. This podcast is brought to you in association with the Illinois American Saddlebred Pleasure Horse Association. Check out iasfa.com for more information. Today's show has been over half a year in the making. It is the reason we started this podcast. Back when we were batting around at ways to give more to our IASFA members, we thought we should do some interviews with different people in our horse world. Isabelle Fischer's name was one of those that came to the top of the list. That idea to do a few interviews turned into this very podcast. And now this fun, honest, and insightful conversation with Izzy is exactly what we wanted to bring you. And now, Izzy Fischer. Let's just start at the beginning. And I think a lot of people know you now, but it's a little bit like a musician who they call a quote unquote overnight sensation who has spent, 10 years working at their craft. So can you tell us about how you got started?
Yeah. So I started riding when I was like 2 years old. I would go out to the barn with my dad, my aunt, and my brothers, and we would just kind of like ride ponies and there was this little white pony, his name was Mooney, and another pony, her name was Tina, and those were kind of like, we didn't own them, but like when we would go to the barn, those were the ones that we liked the most. And then that kind of turned into like showing in lead line at the county fairs with my aunt. And then that kind of turned into like, well, I'm going to do academy now. And like I'm taking my lessons twice a week and like spending Saturdays working at the barn. And then that turned into like, I started showing like in a suit when I was 8. And I had gotten my first horse then. And he got injured like within 2 weeks of having him. And it was very unfortunate. And I spent that whole season just catch riding horses. And like, I think we ended up leasing a horse for me to show at Louisville. And my main goal was like, I want to get a ribbon. I don't care what it is. I just want to get a ribbon. Like that is my goal. And that did not happen. I did not get a ribbon my first time showing at Louisville. And I came home from that like a little disappointed in myself. And my mom was like, well, Izzy, like, you have a decision to make here. Like, you can either keep showing, like, on a county fair level, and we'll get you a horse to, like, show at the county fairs, and it'll stay local, and you can be with your friends at the barn. Or if you really want to do this and, like, be competitive, we can switch barns, and, like, we'll get you a horse to do, like, the bigger shows, and, like, you can really pursue it and, like, go to Kansas City and do all of the shows. And when I was 8, I looked at her, and I was like, well, I want to show on like the highest level I can get to. So then we ended up moving to Shelley's, and then that's just kind of how it began. So
I think I remember when you first moved to Shelley's and you had kind of a sporty 10 under walking trot horse.
Yeah, his name was Blue Over You. We called him Blue. He was a pretty cool dude. He was a big step up for me though.
So then when you got him, did you right off the bat start showing on the national circuit?
Pretty much. So I think my first show with Shelley was Kentucky Spring Premiere. And I remember my mom and Shelley kind of having a talk when like I started, once we got Blue, she was like, if we're going to do this and like she wants to like be good by the time we hit Louisville and like really have a shot at it, like she needs to start coming to the barn like 3 days a week, and she needs a personal trainer, and like she really needs to pursue this. And I was game for anything. I was like, let's do it. I'm ready.
That's awesome.
This episode is brought to you in part through the generous support of listeners like you, including Richard Wright and his Black Tie Stables. Richard has been encouraging since the release of our very first episode. He could see that IASFA was taking a big swing in launching and producing the Stable Minded podcast for its members, not only in time and effort, but in its financial commitment as well. As we've said before, we do this for our members, but we can't do it without them. We thank Richard and Black Tie for their media partnership and their ongoing championing of our effort. Were you always interested in equitation? Was that kind of your focus, or originally your focus?
Yeah, so I actually don't remember how I ended up in equitation. So when I was younger, I was just showing in walk and trot, and that's the only walk and trot class that they offered at Louisville was equitation. So I was training as an eq rider when I was 9 and 10. And then I was like, I want to pursue this like through like junior equitation. And then like, of course, I was watching the senior eq championship at Louisville. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And it just kind of like turned into this obsession kind of.
Tell me, you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what is your routine for preparing for a show? Like, how often are you riding? Are you riding school horses? How often do you ride your show horses? Are you in the gym? Are you working out with a personal trainer?
Yeah, so just all year round, I'll go to the barn and ride 3 times a week. So I'll do Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if it's like during the school year, I'll have to like go at night and I'll ride 2 lesson horses normally each night. And then on the weekend, I'll go on Sundays and I'll spend almost the whole day up there. Because I'm riding all of my show horses that day, and it's just like back to back. It could be up to 8 horses that day, which is actually really good practice for when I like get to a show and like I'm showing a lot of horses in one session and they're back to back, and like I just have to hop off of one, change my coat, get on the next one. I barely have any time to warm up. Like it really like it prepares me for that because it's got like the quick changes. And then, yeah, I do work out off the horse. So I do Pilates 3 times a week. I'm really fortunate to have a private Pilates instructor right now. And I pretty much use her for everything. And I'll go and like work out with her Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I like to do Pilates before I ride because I kind of say it takes the edge off of me a little bit. I tend to get really intense when I like take a lesson. I'm like, I really want something like very badly. I want it to like be as close to perfect as possible. And I get like really intense with myself and I'm not good when I'm like that. So like I do Pilates and it kind of like, it helps me focus my mind, like the breath work will help me. And then like it'll kind of physically exhaust me a little bit, which is good. I need that. And
like one of those nervous horses that we have to take out and lunge in the morning before they go show.
Yeah, literally, literally. Yeah, like at Louisville last year, I did Pilates right before the senior F championship because I'm like, it just needs to take the edge off of me. Like I need to like be focused and calm and like mindful instead of just like a free for all, try as hard as you can. Like I still try hard, but it's not like ineffective. It's like I'm not doing too much, if that makes sense. And then I will say like when I was younger, like my workout plan off the horse has changed a little bit. So when I was younger, I had like a personal trainer and it was like weightlifting and like really functional exercises. With like balance and core. And so I did that like when I was like 9 and 10. And then I had a yoga instructor too, because I'm not a flexible person. And I needed to work on that. You have to have a little flexibility for equitation. And then kind of as I like got older, I ended up switching personal trainers to like a family friend, and she was awesome. I had gotten a horse when I was 12. It was my eq horse, Madeiras Fame. I really needed to work hard for him. Like, he was difficult for me to learn. And like he knew his job and I didn't know mine, and I needed to like get it together fast. And she was awesome, and I was with her for a while. And then I started Pilates, and I was like, this is like, it's really good for me. Like it's the mindfulness that was really good for me.
Well, that's really interesting. So then, how did you start moving into performance classes? Like, was that something that you wanted to do, or was it something that maybe Shelly thought was good for you?
Yeah. So I think like my first like true performance horse might have been Alec, his Supreme Reflection. And it was kind of like the opportunity came up, and when I went and tried him, I like loved him. And I think after that, it just kind of like kept building. Like if there was an opportunity for me to learn something new with a horse and like kind of step up, we were gonna take it. And like I was putting a lot of effort into equitation at the time, and it was just kind of good for me to expand. And I think I got a lot of new skills from expanding like our string of horses, like I learned from them, but then also like multitasking and like managing, like switching back and forth has kind of transformed me as a horsewoman a little bit. So yeah, I think it was kind of Shelly's idea, but then like we kind of were like, okay, like we're game to do it. Because like anything Shelly is willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. So I'll take advantage of any opportunities like that if they arise.
Well, and speaking of Shelley, there's something that I think is very special, at least from the outside looking in, about the relationship that you have with her. And besides sharing the same last name, is there something that makes you guys really click? And I think not only in the horses that you choose, but also like in the approach that you guys have.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest thing, like the biggest point in like our, I guess, teamwork, is our personalities are very similar. We are very detailed oriented, and like she wants to nitpick the little things and like make kind of like get really detail oriented, and I am totally game for that. Like I love that. I want everything to be like as good as it gets, down to like the position of my hands, like my fingertips. Like I am willing to do it. And I think I'm kind of receptive to that. I think my personality, I'm almost a little OCD at this point. And I think when I was younger, I had this work ethic where I was willing to take on any challenge. And if I'm very receptive to criticism, I call myself my like biggest critic. And Shelly, like her way of teaching is it's different than anything I've really ever seen. She's taught me a lot about like when I'm riding, she likes me to tell her like what I'm feeling and kind of like describe the mechanics of what I am doing in terms of like how the horse would like receive that. And I think that's really helped me like when I'm learning a horse. If she's like, well, what did you do just then? I'd be like, oh, well, I'm doing XYZ. And she's like, okay, so this is like why that is working. So I'm like, I really like to learn, and she really is very, very good at teaching. And I think it's like a puzzle piece that just fits like right together. And when I was younger, like she'll teach you in every way possible. She would have a notepad out at a horse show, and she's like, here is the shape of the ring, and like this is what your horse needs first way, because you know he needs to bend a little extra to the left. So I would recommend this kind of cut, and then like second way you can do whatever because you know they bend a little bit better, or like something like that. And then she'll sit with you and like go over videos, and she'll kind of be like, well, you know, here you probably should have done this like cut instead, or like you were getting too intense here and you needed to like reel it back and be less aggressive and more calculated in your strategy. And like she's really good about kind of like finding the small things that you can work on while at a show to improve too. And like I said, I think it's in my personality that like once I find something that I really like, I really want to expand and like improve on it. And she's like pretty much the same way.
It's awesome. The little details, I think people, they kind of forget about them sometimes. And those little details do add up. Like I've watched you a lot showing. Everything down to your outfit, your saddle, how the horses turned out. Everything is tip-top perfection, and it puts together a nice picture that people want to watch. And I think that's like one of your biggest successes for you and Shelly is everything is put together just great. And even if you have like make a little mistake, at least everything is all, and you hardly do ever make any mistakes. But I mean, it does happen. Obviously, we're riding animals and they're not perfect all the time. And I try to tell everyone that. But the little details do count, and it's important that you're both like. I mean, it shows that everything down to the last little thing is perfectly placed.
We will be right back to our show, but before we do, I want to clear something up. You don't have to be from Illinois to be a member of the Illinois American Saddlebred Pleasure Horse Association. You don't have to own or show an American Saddlebred Pleasure Horse. Heck, you don't even need to ride. What you do need is to enjoy and believe in all the ways that IASPA is sharing and bettering our horse experiences, including this podcast. And if you do believe, consider going to iaspha.com and becoming a member, or maybe even a sponsor. We are so excited for the future you are helping us create for our horse community. And like we say, we do all of this for our members, but we can't do it without them. And now, back to our show. And this might be my craziness showing just a little bit, but you talk about working on all those little details and all that nitpicking and getting all those little things right. How do you not let that start to bring you down, that that this is wrong and that's wrong and you've got to fix all these things? How are you balancing that out so that, like, when you get to the time to show and you're going in the ring, that this whole thing opens up and everything's at play and you have to kind of go from that detail mindedness to, I don't know, it's game day. You've got to go out and show and everything has to happen. So how do you make that balance?
Yeah, so actually I'll admit I do sometimes get a little frustrated if I feel like I nitpick myself pretty badly, and Shelly could be like, "Oh, like lengthen your fingers. You've got like a clenched fist right now, like, and your hands need to be pretty. You're going to be in white gloves or something." And I could be kind of like focusing on something else and just kind of like letting it slip from my mind. And like I'll fidget sometimes really bad if I'm getting frustrated with myself. And it kind of goes back to the Pilates thing where I need to take the edge off of myself a little bit. So I'm able to not like get frustrated with myself. Like it happens pretty often. And I'd say that it kind of comes with age too. Like the self-control with your mind. I probably didn't really like learn this super well until I was like 16. Like when I was probably like 14, I would, I'd get mad at my fingers not doing the right thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, like I'm going to try harder everywhere else too. And like, that doesn't need to happen. It's just one thing that needs fixed. And just kind of thinking to yourself, well, if it's just the one thing, like, why am I going after everything else? Like, not everything needs improved. It's just one thing. And like, you can fix that one thing. It's as simple as like laying your hands down the reins, like softly, that's it. Or like your foot is moving a little bit. Like you don't have to fix your left leg if it's just your right leg. And I think as an equitation rider, especially, you're constantly trying to like get better and push yourself a little bit harder. And you have to recognize that like sometimes during a ride, you can't push yourself to improve everything at once. So you have to kind of take it one thing at a time, and it builds on each other. And like eventually it's just going to like come. And that would go for a performance rider as well. It just kind of works that way in general. And then as far as shows go, I don't really know how this mindset came about, but I'm really able to differentiate pretty well between like a show and at home. Like if I'm at home, like I can let myself kind of get a little frustrated, but I need to like teach myself to like flip a switch and it stops. And it's just like I'm focused. So when I get to a show, I could be a little frustrated at something in the warm up, but when I go in the gate, like I forget about it. It's all about like what's going on in the ring. And you don't have like when it's show day, you don't have time to like nitpick the little things. Like you kind of have to just go with what you have. And that's just what it's going to be. And you're going to make the best out of that. And that's just kind of like it's the thought process that has to change. And if you practice that at home, it makes a difference. I'll just add, I think it's really important like that you realize that this is a journey and you have to give yourself some grace to make mistakes and stuff. It's going to happen. That's just, we're human and that's natural. And like you have to be patient with yourself, and like there's a difference between being patient with yourself and like settling. There's some things just take time and a consistent effort. And I think like it's just really important to like give yourself grace and like allow yourself to make mistakes and allow yourself to take your time and really enjoy it. I think like it's a learning experience for everyone, the horses included. And like, you gotta take the time to really learn them and stuff. So it's a long process if you really truly want to like bond and like figure each other out as best as you can.
I think a lot of people get in the warm up, especially if there's a lot of horses and riders in the class, and
Mhm.
then something maybe trips them up, or I don't know, they have some sort of mistake. They go in there and they keep thinking about it, and they take it with them into the class. So do you have any like advice of, I mean, you just said you could try to shut it off, but sometimes it's hard for people to shut it off because they're thinking about it. Especially, it seems like the older you get, it's harder for them to forget it. Like as kids, they're like,
Yes.
whatever, I'm just gonna keep riding. But what do you do?
Mhm.
Like you just like, okay, I'm just gonna do the next thing. I'm gonna go and do my canter now or whatever. Is there
Yes,
anything
yeah.
that you? Yeah.
So I have a pretty specific way that I like to warm up. Shelly lets me warm up all of my horses on my own because she says that the more time I get on my horse's back, the better. So she like will go into the warm up and we kind of have like an established plan of what we're going to do, and that helps a lot because I'm not waiting around, I'm not looking at other people and getting distracted by what other people are doing. Like it's just like me and my horse, and like I'm gonna come in and like maybe this horse I need to do a little bending in the middle, and then I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna canter first way and then reverse and canter second way, and then like I'll just trot, and then maybe I need to take the martingale off now and then trot again. And like if you have something that's laid out and you're like, I want to accomplish this like during this canter, and then as soon as I get it, I'm just gonna walk and move on to the next thing. You don't really have time to like let your surroundings get into your head, let yourself get into your head, because you're focused on the plan that you have like established. And I think that really helps me because I'm like, I have a checklist, I need to get it all done. And like if I end up sitting and waiting around because I got it all done a little early, that's fine. I'd rather have more time than be rushed. That's just me. But I think like having a plan of attack is probably like that's the biggest thing. And that, like I said, that way you're not getting distracted by your surroundings. And that's also something I think it'll come with age too. Like when I was 9 years old, I was watching everyone but my horse in the warm up because I'm like, oh, look at that one. That's fun. What are they doing over there? And Shelly's like, Izzy, over here. Pay attention. Your horse is over here. Which, like I said, I kind of grew out of that.
So what do you do when the warm-up is such a chaotic mess and everybody's trying to do their thing and going in different directions, and one's trotting and one's cantering, one's walking, one's standing? When that plan that you have, when you're having trouble executing it exactly the way you want to, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So it depends on the horse a little bit for me too. Like there's some horses that you really kind of have to stick with the plan that you have in place, and you might have to, wait an extra second for a path to clear or something like that. Or, maybe there's like a roadster class before you and they need the rail. Well, then just like take a second and wait so you can execute it how that horse needs. But if like that's not the case, I think the biggest thing is making sure that like you and your horse are safe. Like you're not going to hit anyone, no one's going to hit you, like, but you're also like focused on what your horse needs, but your surroundings, and you're like, you kind of have to be assertive in a warm up. Like sometimes, like paths cross and it gets a little hectic, and like if you're assertive with your plan, you know where you're going, you're looking ahead, like you have your point, you're going to go to it, you see a horse is coming here, well, maybe I just need to cut across. Like you just have to adapt to your surroundings, and like it can be a little nerve-wracking, but like if you kind of imagine, like if you let that get to your head, it's going to go straight to your horse's head, and they're going to be like, what are we doing? Like I'm a little lost here, and like you need to be a leader for them and for yourself.
And kind of staying in that same vein, like how do you tackle maybe a class that's not going as planned? You kind of set out exactly how you think it's going to go or how you want to attack a class and the strategy that you have for that, and it starts to not go that way. I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I remember watching a gated class where you were showing For the Love of Pete at Louisville, and it's not bad enough that you lost a shoe, and that you had to kind of pick up and go on, but then you had to put that shoe back on. It came off again for the second time, and you had to finish the class just to hopefully qualify to go back in the championship. And I think that took a lot of mental fortitude. So how do you take on a class that goes so against the plan that you maybe set up before it?
So speaking on the Pete incident, so that class, like, I kind of view it as like, as the rider, it's my job to like adapt to the situation. Like, poor Pete, he's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm missing one shoe. I'm trying to slow game, trying to rack. Like, it's hard because, I mean, he doesn't have a shoe on up front. And in my mind, I'm like, it's just my job, like, to get him to do his gates and to get through this, because I just need a ribbon to like come back in the championship, and like we can have, the ride that I was like going for. And in that class where he lost the shoe, I was actually like having a really good ride for him. It was probably the best that we had ever had. And it was very unfortunate that that happened. And, in the moment, like when I got off in center ring for them to put the shoe back on, I was a little panicked. I was a little frantic. I'm like, we're duct taping this back on. Like, this is kind of like, this is not ideal. And, but as soon as I got back on him, I was like, okay, like, that doesn't matter anymore. It's not ideal, whatever. Like, I have to, like, adapt to the situation. I have to, like, lead him through this. I can't just sit back and be like, uh-oh, Pete, like, what are we gonna do here? Like, I have to take charge of the situation and be like, okay, like, this is the plan. We just have to get through it. Like, we'll line up early, like, the less time we spend on the rail, the better. And like, that mindset kind of ended up paying off. We ended up getting a ribbon. So, and then in the championship, like, we went back and we were ready. We were ready and we were set. And I think like a situation like that is a little bit different than like if I was having a ride that didn't necessarily feel good. Like, I could, be missing a pass, or my horse keeps breaking, or like, we got a wrong lead or something like that. Like, I'd like to think like that's kind of my fault as a rider. Like, I should be doing something a little bit better. I kind of think like there's a mindset where it's like horses don't make mistakes, riders do. Like, so if we got a wrong lead, like what door did I leave open? Or, what was I not thinking of? Like, why didn't I notice that there was a sunspot on the ground right there, and my horse spooked and he like jumped off his feet because of it? Like, it's just kind of that mindset. Like, you're supposed to be the leader in the situation. You're supposed to be like looking out for these things, protecting your horse in those moments. And like I said, it's that like adaptability. You have to be able to like kind of change your mindset for the situation. Like, something's not working, you have to be like, okay, like, we have to make a change. You can't sit there and dwell on it. And Shelly actually kind of taught that to me for equitation. When we were doing patterns at home, I would maybe make a mistake, like maybe cantering a circle. I let the horse fall out of it. And she's like, okay, like, that's the beginning of the pattern and you just did that. Like, make up for it. Don't sit there and dwell on the fact that you messed up. Like, you still have, 10 more elements to do those better than you would have before, and kind of exceed your own expectations that way, instead of like dwelling on the fact that you did mess up.
I think that's really good too, and for positive to like keep moving on, especially for younger kids. It's like I teach a lot of kids, so I'm like, okay, you just got to keep pushing through, and you got to keep trying your best, because maybe you could make up for it, like you said, and maybe that mistake won't be as big of a deal because everything else was really great, or you had, this is cheesy, but like you had a nice smile, you didn't let it affect you, because it just, you keep on moving and you're not halting in that spot, for lack of a better term, of like, oh my God, shut down, can't do it. Yeah. This episode is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Monarch Show Series National Championship. It's their efforts to build a better, stronger, and more inclusive horse show industry that makes projects like this podcast possible. Make sure to join us for this year's show in September at the historic Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield, Illinois. For more information, go to monarchshowseries.com.
You touched on this a little bit earlier, but how do you handle the physical and mental demands of showing multiple horses? And again, this is just me looking outside looking in, but some of them look game and some of them look like they need to be pushed a little bit, and some look a little nervous. How do you make the change and adapt to each of your horses so quickly? And also just making sure that you're there physically enough for each horse when you get to the third horse of the performance. How do you take that on?
Yeah, so I think the short answer is practice. At home, we, like I said, on Sundays, I ride up to 8 horses a day. Like, and I think that's like physically, that's pretty demanding. And I think it was when I was 16 at Kansas City, I think I showed 6 horses in a day. And that was probably the most that I ever had. I think I showed like 5 times, maybe it was 7 times in a day. I'm not quite sure. But I showed in like the medal finals, and then like the park class, the 3-gated show pleasure class, the 5-gated show pleasure class. And then that night I showed in 5-gated and 3-gated. And I was exhausted after that. And Shelly did a great job preparing me like before that. I think one of the biggest things is switching from horse to horse. At home, she'll change up the order in which I ride my horses from like week to week, so I can kind of like, I don't get used to like a certain pattern. So I could be, riding like a gaited horse first, and then I'm going to do equitation, and then I'm going to go to park, and then to pleasure. And I actually think the hardest thing is to put equitation in the middle of that, because when I am like riding 5-gated, I don't think so hard about equitation. And then like that's probably like the hardest switch to flip in my brain, is to be like, okay, well, we just did 5-gated, which is gritty and kind of like aggressive, and then like equitation, like you have to be like beautiful, like, and have like an inner tiger, outer swan kind of like effect. That's Shelly's term. So I think like that helps me a little bit. And like the mental is, I just know my horses very well, and like the skills, they'll transfer from horse to horse a little bit, but then like, one horse likes a little more contact, the other one you have to be like light as a feather in their mouth, like, and you just have to be able to differentiate that, know your horse well enough. And it's like I said, that adaptability thing, like maybe that horse doesn't want that today, like maybe you have to try something new. And I think like at home I experience like a lot of different personalities from my horses sometimes, and that helps me a lot, especially when I get to a show and I have one class to warm up, and I like just got off of like my 3-gated horse, and I've got to change my coat and get on the next horse. Maybe that horse is tight in the warm up, and I just have to figure it out. I just have to deal with it and like get through it, and then like, and not let it shake me. And I think, like I said, at home that kind of helps me like maintain my focus and keep like a level mind. Like it doesn't like make me anxious, it doesn't make me nervous, I don't get frustrated about it. I just know that it's gonna level out. It's just gonna like kind of figure itself out a little bit, just because I know my horses, and like I know what they're capable of, and like what it's gonna take. And then I will speak on a little bit, like when I'm showing multiple horses in a session, let's say I could be showing 3-gated and then like park and then pleasure. So then I could have a really good ride on my 3-gated horse, and then like my pleasure horse, I might not have as good of a ride. Like it could be like I didn't do a good job working the ring, or I let him swap leads on me or something like that. But I have to get off and get on my other horse. There has to be like, I have to be able to draw a hard line with myself and be like, I am not allowed to think about my mistake. Like, I'm not allowed to think about that, like, and dwell on it. I have to get on the next horse. It's a completely different scenario. Like, we're starting fresh. I just know I can't let that happen again. But I'm not going to think about it too hard. And then maybe after I'm done showing, then I'll go and, like, beat myself up for it. But yeah, like I have to draw like a hard line with myself and be like, you're not allowed to think about that anymore. You're on to the next horse, and it's different. And then, like I said, afterwards, now I could be like, okay, what did I do wrong on that? Like, how can I prevent that the next time I show that horse?
That's a good mental game. That's a tough mental game, but I mean, that's really good. And is it harder? Because I feel like when you win a class too, and your adrenaline is like pumping, is it harder almost to go to another horse then? Because you're like, oh my God, I just won. And then you're like, okay, now I got to get on this other horse and they haven't won yet. Yeah. So I got to chill out. Because like the adrenaline of winning it's crazy. Mm-hmm. So does that affect you at all?
Maybe a little bit. I haven't really thought about it that way. That's a good point.
Well, don't think about it too much.
That's what we're learning. Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, nah.
I think like when I get off of a horse, I think I've really learned kind of how to like manipulate my emotions a little bit, and like my mentality and the energy I kind of feed off to a horse. So like, maybe that horse, the adrenaline's good for them. Like they like that like extra oomph. They like to feel like a little on edge. And then maybe the next horse, like I'm not allowed to feel any of that. Like they need it to be like as calm and quiet as possible. So like I said, you kind of have to learn how to like manipulate the energy you feed off to a horse too. Like I haven't thought hard about like how I've gotten myself to do that. I know like when I was younger, a few of my lessons, like we would have like maybe a lazier pattern horse, and like that horse I would have to learn how to like feed some like energy to them and be like, okay, like you need to like hustle up down this rail, and like you're not gonna be lazy stepping into your canters, like you're gonna get up under yourself and like really take it like you should be. And then maybe you have like a gamer horse that's you're doing patterns with, and you're like, okay, like we have to be so calm and so quiet and everything is gentle, and like it's just like you really have to like change that like mentality. And I think you can learn that in like lessons and practice.
I was gonna say, it's from hearing you talk, it sounds like you've said this, that your horses really, really well. And I apologize, I don't know your horses' barn names, but like you go from it's Aerosmith to like Sugar Fund, right? They could be like, but them. You're like, okay, just got off It's Aerosmith. I'm gonna get on Sugar Fund, and this is what he needs. Like, so it just sounds like you have that really, really good foundation with all of them, which is super important. And do you do anything like at the barn? Hang out with them, or you're like in their stall, or you not do that? Because there are people that don't do that either, and so I don't know. I think that's just interesting.
No, definitely my horses, they probably want to get rid of me. Like I am like, I like smother them. I feel like, so every time at the barn, I go around, I make a point to see all of them and to make sure like they know me, they trust me. Like that's super important that your horse trusts you to lead them through situations. Like Pete, if he was unsure of me when he lost his shoe, like we probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere. Like, but he knew me, and he was like, okay, like we're gonna figure this out. Like she's got me. And like that kind of trust, it goes both ways. Like if they trust you, you can trust them. And they're actually I think it was my 12-year-old eck horse, Thomas, Madeire's fame again. He taught me a lot. He really taught me that there's some horses you have to make a huge effort to really like connect with them and form a relationship with them. Like he knew who I was, and like he knew like I was his rider, and I was like working around him a lot, and like I would get him ready to ride, and I would go and like sit with him in his stall, and he was like, that's not enough, like more. And he like wanted me to go and like sit with him in his stall bridle before I would ride him, and I would sit there and I would talk to him, and I would read the pattern book to him because apparently he liked it. And like he is the most human horse I have ever seen. And he really taught me that like there's horses that you have to make that effort for. Some of the horses, they're just friendly and they really like you, and like if they see you enough, they're like, oh yeah, like that's my girl, like I know her. And there's some horses, they're like you're here a lot, but I don't know a lot about you. And I think that especially goes for equitation horses. Like if you're going to be doing hard patterns with them, like you need to take the extra time, like get them ready if you're riding them, and like sit with them, talk to them. Like it's just, you really have to invest the time into it. And I think like right now, one of my new horses, the gaited horse Trey, he came, and he wasn't very trusting at first. And I was like, Shelly, like, I really want this horse to like me and to know me. Like, and she's like, okay, well, like, you can start getting him ready then on Sunday mornings. Like, I'll come in and get my first horse ready. And she's like, so he'll be your first horse to get ready. And like, now I think he kind of likes me. I hope so. And like he knows that like when I come in on Sunday, he's like, "Oh, she's here." And he's like right at the front of his stall and like he'll like Winnie and Nicker and he's like, "Come over here, come and pet me." And like he'll lay his head on my chest and I'm like, "That's good." Like I want them to like to know me and to trust me and to like have that bond. Like I said, it's kind of comforting too. Like if you're at a show and you're nervous, you're like, "Well, I know my horse has me too." Like, it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. I think you said an important point that maybe gets overlooked by a lot of kids, some adults too, that you are getting your horse ready. Do you feel like that helps you? I mean, you've said it helps you a lot. Like, how does that transpose into your riding too of the horse by like getting them ready? And because I feel like a lot of people want to maybe skip over that part, but it is really important to learn all of their little personalities and stuff like that. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah,
And working on the
for
ground.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'll speak specifically about Belmont, my equitation horse, Sugar Fun. He, when I was getting him ready, he's kind of a diva. Like I kind of learned that on the ground that he's kind of a diva, and like he's got a little sass to him, and like you have to respect his boundaries, and like and it kind of transfers like when you get on his back too. Like he's still kind of a diva on his back, and like he kind of wants to do it his way, and like you have to, like when you're working around them on the ground, like you learn to trust them. And when you get on their back and he's like, "We're gonna do it my way," I'm like, "Okay, like we're gonna do it your way, but here are my terms and conditions." And like that's helpful. And like Trey, when I was learning his personality, he's not a diva. He's actually like I feel like he internalizes a lot. Like he's intense too. Like he's a hard worker, and he really loves his job. And like I think you kind of learn that on the ground too, because you're like, "Oh well, he's getting excited that like I'm getting his bridle out, and he sees that like there's a saddle in front of his stall, and he's excited about that." And like you kind of like you learn those things that like maybe this horse like he really really loves his job, and you need to get out of his way because he knows it. And maybe another horse you're getting ready and he's like afraid because you dropped a brush, and you're like, "Well, this horse maybe he's a little more insecure and he needs some comfort and some help." And I think it's interesting how it transfers, and I think every rider should be connecting with their horses on the ground, because like they work hard for us, and like they are very deserving to have that relationship and to feel the love, and like they're deserving of your hard work too.
Speaking of Sugar Fund, can you speak a little bit to the pressure that you were under and how you dealt with it as you were working your way through the Triple Crown? I can't imagine what it's like to have 2 legs of that done and then getting ready for that third piece. And how did you take that on? How did Shelly help you take it on?
Yes. So first of all, I'd say that to start us off, when I was younger and I did a pattern at main event, I was 12, and it wasn't in the Good Hands finals. It was like the jackpot class, and they would have you leave the ring and come in and do the pattern similar to a finals. It wigged me out so bad. Like, I mean, I could have thrown up walking into the ring. Like, and I did not expect that from myself. And I had some mistakes in my pattern. Like, it did not go well. And that was my like last class right before I went into the UPHA, like the junior ec finals. And I was nervous going into my pattern then too, because I'm like, what if I do the exact same thing? Like, that could be really bad. And normally you don't like, even at 12 years old, you didn't really see me get nervous like that. And I had never felt myself get nervous like that. So I was really taken back by it. And then I guess I grew out of that, because when I got older, I loved the finals. It was my favorite time of year, and like, I liked the pressure from it. Like it made me rise to the occasion a little bit more and like get a little more hungry for it. And like you said, I did end up, I showed in the Good Hands with Pistachio when I won that. And then Belmont, we won the UPHA and the medal together later on. And I think kind of what happened was like Belmont came up for sale, and Shelly was like, "Okay, wait, I think like we could really make this work. Like she's like, I think like we should do this and we'll keep Pistachio and we'll show him in 3-gated and like it'll just be a good change of scenery for him. And then like we'll get Belmont and we'll kind of make it work. And at first I was a little uneasy of Belmont. I was kind of like, this isn't working very well. I feel like I'm struggling to like get on the same page as him. And I realized, I think it was like around March, I was like, we're getting into show season, my first show with Belmont, and I'm like, I am really struggling to like connect with him on his pattern work. And I'm like, the past 2 equitation horses I've had, me and Shelly, we've equitated them. So they're programmed like exactly how we do it. And Belmont came and he knew his job. And it was a completely different vibe. And I had to like humble myself and be like, okay, I'm taking a step back. You teach me how you want me to do it. Like I'll learn it for you. And eventually, I think it was by Midwest that year, I was like, okay, wait, I'm starting to understand it. Like I'm starting to get it now. And then kind of as we went, our pattern work ended up getting really good because I was like, okay, you teach me your way because like, I'm not changing your mind over this. Like, you know your stuff and I just don't know like how to cue you for it. And then, yeah, so then like later on in the finals with him, I didn't really feel a bunch of pressure for that. If I was feeling any pressure, it's probably because I put it on myself. I tend to do that sometimes. And I think that when I went into the finals that year, like I said, I really enjoyed the finals. So I was like, I'm going to have fun with this. I get like some really hard patterns to do. And like, it's a good challenge for us to like test our skills. And I think like the UPHA finals, I wasn't as busy showing that day. So I wasn't like, I was focusing a little bit more at the task at hand then, and I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm feeling a little bit of pressure now because I'm not as busy. But then like for the medal class, when I was showing 3 horses in between the 2 phases, I had no time to think about like, like what if I bomb this? Like what if I make a mistake here? Like because I was busy riding my other horses. And like I said, you have to draw that line and be like, there's nothing about another horse can like invade my mind right now. Like it's all just focused on this one horse. So yeah, I don't have like a lot of advice on like how to not feel pressure for the finals because I was kind of taught to embrace pressure a little bit. And I think if you can teach yourself how to do that, it's a good skill to have, to not let it like get in your head like that. And I do think like that it comes with maturity a little bit.
It sounds like after the pattern at main event where you had to walk in and you're like, oh my God. I think it sounds like it helped you in a way to be like, I think you took that and you were like, okay, I'm going to work harder and I'm going to think through this and it drove you to be like, all right, I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm going to push through. I'm going to just be stronger from it. That's what it sounds like. And it sounds like
absolutely.
It's helped you ever since then. Like, that one little pattern at main event was probably like the turning point for you to be like, all right, I'm going to work super, super hard now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. It takes a village to put on this podcast, and this month we're lucky enough to have Brothers Country Supply lend us a helping hand. Brothers is 100% family owned, and whether you need quality horse feed, premium stall bedding, or supplies to care for any of your other pets, they've got you covered. Stop in and talk to their friendly staff at any one of their locations in Plano, Oswego, DeKalb, Morris, or Ottawa, or check out their website at brotherscountrysupply.com. Brothers, making a pet's quality of life better every day. And now that equitation is over for you, or at least in the juvenile division, can you speak to how that feels moving up into the amateur ranks? Can you see a difference? Are you feeling it? Are you preparing for that at all differently?
Yeah, so I do. I'm still doing like equitation lessons because I couldn't give that up. I'm so addicted to it at this point that I really couldn't give that up. And there's a huge benefit to like doing the equitation lessons even as a performance rider. Like it really teaches me like how I manipulate my body. Like it can affect how my horse moves, how they collect, like all of those things. So I see a huge benefit in still continuing with that, and equitation helps my mindset and all of this stuff. So it just like it helps in the big picture. Um, and I haven't really changed anything super like drastic from the junior exhibitor ranks to amateur. Um, I do think like I think my last year of junior exhibitor, I was feeling a little bit more pressure than I normally do, and I think it's kind of been lifted off of my shoulders a little bit going into the amateur ranks because it's not a fresh start, but it's kind of is, and I'm like I'm new to this, and there's a lot of people who are really good up here, and like it's a new challenge for me, and I love a challenge, and in the junior exhibitor ranks, like I felt like I was almost like fighting against myself or something, like going into a show, I would be like, well, if this doesn't exceed my expectations for myself, then like, like there's an issue. And I'd get in my own head about that. And then like now I'm kind of like, okay, well, like there's different competition and like it's a different feel to be in the ring with amateurs versus junior exhibitors, and like I need to kind of like adjust to my surroundings a little bit because it's new.
Probably does feel better because it's like you. I mean, it's probably hard. People don't talk about probably the pressures of being at the top, right? And now you are definitely not at the bottom, but like you know what I mean. You're the kind of the new kid on the block, and you're the youngest, I guess. So it's probably like, man, I got to go up against adult amateurs who are much older than I am and showing a lot longer. I mean, do you have any feelings about that of like showing against people who've been showing more than double your age? It's a
little intimidating.
Yeah,
it's a little intimidating, but like I think I've watched a lot of them show. I love to watch show and to study people, so I know a little bit about like their skill and like technique that they use in the ring and like what strategy they tend to use in their ring work, and so I have like a little bit of knowledge on it, but I'm also like it's different being in the ring with them and like kind of like feeling out like their strategy, like what kind of ring work do they really like to use, and like it's because I always say there's a balance and like ring work between like calculation and instinct, and I think like if you're too calculated, you might look reserved. But if it's purely off of instinct, you might look a little wild. Like you got to kind of balance it out.
And lastly, before we get to the final five, I just wanted to ask you a question about, I guess you're having to do some adulting inside the ring, and along with that comes some adulting that has to be done outside of the ring. So how are you balancing the demands of school and family and friends and horse shows and all the things that go with that?
Yeah. So I kind of feel like in high school really prepared me for college and like balancing my work and like getting my work done early before I go to a show. I have like a hard rule when I get to a horse show, I will not do any schoolwork. Like I can't, it's all about the horse show. Like I can't focus on anything else. It's just the horse show. And I kind of like, I'm like in my own little world or my own bubble at a horse show, and nothing's going to invade that space. Um, but like at school, I kind of attack everything similarly to how I do horses. So like I work hard at it and I want to get as good as grades as I can get. I really love math. So like I pursued math in like high school. I took every math class possible at my high school because I really liked it that much. And but there was always like a line where I'm like, well, to me, horses is like above school for me. I'm like, I am in my own like feelings, horses is just it's more important to me. And then school after that is like my next priority, and then like maybe I have some hobbies or work or something after that. And like now with college and like having a job and maybe my friends like moving away, like my balance has changed. It's shifted a little bit, but in college I have a little bit more time than I did in high school. So like I'm still able to keep like my schedule with horses and not have to like move that around. And then like as far as friends go, with how I'm pursuing this sport right now, like I have to be willing to make sacrifices to not maybe hang out with my friends at a certain time of the week because I'm like, I want to go to the barn and I have some free time right now, or like, uh, because it's summer, maybe like Fridays, I don't have anything to do. So I'm gonna ask Shelly if I can come up and work, even if it's just organizing or like washing horses or something like that. That's fine. Like I'll do that. So like I'm really lucky to have a group of friends and family who are understanding of like how important this sport is to me, and like they are like, okay, like she's like pursuing her passion and her dream right now, and like they are willing to let me do that, and they're not going to get angry at me for that because like they care. So
Now the final 5. Our favorite 5 questions we ask all of our favorite stable-minded people. So we always like to end our interviews with what we like to call the final 5. And so first question of the final 5. If you were not into show horses, what would you be doing?
okay, I've thought about this a little bit, and I think I'd be a soccer player. When I was younger, I liked soccer and I was decent at it. And if when I was younger, I made the decision, I'm like, I like horses more than soccer, so like no more soccer and it's all horses. And I think like if I couldn't do horses, I'd be a soccer player, and I'd probably be pursuing it with the same mindset I have towards horses. Like I would, want to get as good as it as I can get.
Question number 2. To some degree, we all have a horse addiction. What do you think is at the root of yours?
Okay, so I think what's at the root of my horse addiction is that I truly love them. Like I like them as animals, and like I enjoy their personalities, and like I really have a connection with them that I value. But then I think like that's kind of separate from like my addiction to the sport, if that makes sense. Um, I think like my addiction to the sport kind of comes from my personality type. I think I'll find something like my dad's had me do personality testing before, and and it said that I'm a technical expert. So if I find something I really like, I'm gonna like get as deep into it as possible, and like I want to improve as much as I can on that. And like it truly is like an addiction, like an obsession or something like that. So I think there's like a difference between my addiction to horses and my addiction to the sport.
Big picture, what is the greatest gift that your involvement in horses has given you?
I think it's the relationship that I've gotten with my horses, and not only that, there's a lot of like the relationship I have with Shelly, and with like my barn mates and people in the industry. Like I've really like the industry has made me kind of come out of my shell a little bit. I'm naturally a pretty shy person. And so I've learned skills there, and like it's those relationships and bonds that I get to find and to create.
What is the biggest risk you've taken, and how did it pay off?
Okay, so we're gonna return to Thomas again because when I tried him, okay, like I had watched him when I was younger, and he was a really cool big time equitation horse. I was like, wow, like I get to ride this horse. And up until then, all of my horses had been not lazy, well, a little lazy. Like I liked them to be where I could create them, and I didn't feel like they were ahead of me. And like I was really kind of like taking charge. And when I tried him at Kansas City, and he was different than ever, like anything I had ever ridden, and he was way ahead of me. Like I said, he knew his job and I needed to learn mine, and I was unsure about it. I was like, I don't know if he's the one. Like I feel like I'm not very comfortable with this. And Shelly was like, just trust me, and like just trust me, and like we'll make it work. Like you're gonna learn how to do this. And we got him, and he taught me a lot, like a lot. And he was way ahead of me for like the first half of the season. And like but by Lexington, we had bonded pretty strong. Like it clicked, and it really did pay off. I ended up having a great season with him, and like I said, he's taught me so much for all of my other horses, and he kind of changed my perspective on having a horse that's game. Like I had never had one before, and like I can't really imagine now like not ever having ridden a horse that like is game. Like almost all of my horses are now. So I think it kind of helped me change my perspective on that.
And Leslie, what is something you're currently excited about?
I think going to Midwest. We leave on Monday, so I'm super excited for that.
It'd be fun. The classes look really good. Really good. Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited. We love that horse show.
And it's not supposed to be super hot, thankfully. Phew.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. It's been a great conversation. And I think, at least for me, it's, I think I have my perception, and like I said, outside looking in, like what it's like, and it's so interesting how different it is when you actually get to talk to somebody and see it through their eyes. And so I really want to thank you for talking to us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome.
We want to thank Izzy for taking the time to talk to us today. That was everything we hoped it would be. Now, put down your phone, pick up your reins, and we'll see you back here later.